AI-Powered RevOps, where the learning never stops. Hosted by Sandy Robinson, she's leveling up your ops. From data to deals, she reveals how AI really pops. Real talk, real playbooks, no fluff, just jaw drop. So plug in, turn it up, let the insights flow. You're tuned to AI-Powered RevOps, now let's start the show.
Welcome back to AI-Powered RevOps. I'm joined today by Hassan Irshad. Hassan is the head of RevOps at Unify and has also founded Revfinity and a RevOps leader with about a decade of experience building revenue operations across high-growth companies. Before Unify, he held RevOps leadership roles at companies like FundraiseUp, Zipco, and ADP. Today, we're digging into what RevOps teams can actually do with Claude beyond all the hype. If you want practical AI use cases that move the business, this one's worth your time. All right, Hassan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited about this conversation. It's so timely. Let's start off. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So I'm Hassan. I have basically been in RevOps for almost a decade now. And it's hard to say because like RevOps wasn't really a term like 10 years ago. But I started my career working in high growth startups in sales ops. And anyone who has actually worked at a high growth startup knows that we don't really have resources a lot of times. And so I just ended up like wearing different hats, different days. They were like, no marketing ops person, you do that. No customer success ops, you do that. So I naturally just extended my arms towards all of this. And then finally, somebody labeled it revenue operations. So I was like, perfect. Yeah, from there onwards, I worked up the chain from an analyst to holding like head of revenue operations, the director of revenue operations roles at various different companies. Worked at high growth like VC backed companies, but also private equity backed companies. Ran my own consulting, and now I'm leading the charge at Unify.
That's great. And it's interesting because RevOps has really evolved quickly over the last 10 years. And I love your story and your journey there, kind of working through, as it's evolved and then even now in, the world of AI. So before we dive into all things AI, I would love to understand for the audience one personal interest or fun fact your work friends may not know about you.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I would say originally when I start, people don't know that. Eventually, they know that. I also like have professionally DJed house music,
Oh,
and I've
okay.
played to a crowd up to like 500, and like people are always like, "Oh wow, you got a DJ for our work event." Uh,
Yes, yes. That's definitely a handy talent. That's fun. So do you do events like on the weekends and things like that?
yeah, whenever I get time, mostly like I like to play with like for friends and family and
Yeah.
people, so it's like all to spread some love.
Oh, cool. Do you have like a Instagram page or
I
anything
was
like that?
SoundCloud, yeah.
Okay, okay. You're gonna have to drop me the link. I'll share it in the show notes. So awesome. That's great. I love it. I love it. I'm finding a lot of guests have musical talents, whether it's an instrument, DJ, things like that. It's pretty interesting. So
Actually, it's a
appreciate.
different part of your brain than
I
RevOps.
know.
Yeah.
I know for sure. Sometimes you need to have an outlet. What we you gave a little background about how you got to RevOps. But what really pulled you so hard into AI?
Yeah. And I'll maybe start from like the earlier days when I was like an analyst working in revenue operations and building out sales operations. Primarily, my goal was automating stuff. I held like analyst roles that had titles of like automation and analytics. So, um, and people who have worked in sales operations know this as well. Like a lot of those like workflows and efficiencies are core part of the job. So I would say like going through that from the years when we never had AI and I had to do all of this in like Excel and sheets and
VLOOKUPs to death.
stuff and all of that stuff, fun stuff. Uh, Going through those and building those out, going through the pain points now when I see the power of AI coming in, it blows my mind because I'm like, I was spending hours and hours trying to do this. and I can do this in like less than 5 minutes if I get it the context. So my pull towards AI wasn't more ideological, it was more like practical. I was trying to solve problems that I was already trying to solve. AI is a tool, it just made it faster, better, and it's a no-brainer to adopt it. It's like either you adopt it or you get left behind. Um,
100%. And that is really, I think the message here right now is you adopt it or you get left behind. I mean, you're not going to survive in RevOps or really most roles. It is definitely magical when you see a spreadsheet transform in front of your eyes and you're like, that would have taken me 2 weeks to do. Oh my
and the
gosh.
wild part is like people are still out there doing it. So
I know, I know, I know. You've been talking a lot about Claude, and Claude in the last, I mean, even the last couple of weeks has just exploded. And even my company, we literally just went Claude Enterprise CTO, moved everything from Copilot. We have all employee training. We're connecting everything to. How does this change RevOps from your perspective?
yeah, and I'll start from like I feel like I am one of the lucky ones working in an institution that adopts AI across the board. Unify itself is like, layered on top of AI, go to market, and uh, efficiency is like at the core of like the product itself. Um, every time I have built out my organization within like that like ecosystem, I like to break some of the rules because that's where RevOps like innovates.
Mhm.
I have my own ecosystem that works like a startup within a startup, right? So where do you start from that? I started with like almost like an MVP kind of like, hey, let me pick up some of the use cases. Let me start like applying AI, and this was like now like I would say like 6 months ago or around like 6 7 months ago. I was like going through every single model that was out there,
Mhm.
and running stuff that I wanted to automate. And uh, Claude, of course, like now, like Claude is like in mainstream, but Claude was
Mhm.
always like more of the model that was like more for academics and more like the
Coding.
coding and the reasoning was like so much better. And some of these other models do other things great, like image generation within like Gemini or Nano Banana is like amazing. Um, Similar, like OpenAI has some of the models that are like better at some of the things they do. For RevOps, because it's very analytical role, a lot of the stuff like I have gone through models and then like I adopted Claude and started using it starts living up to the promise of AI. And that's where I was like, the light bulb moment was like, oh, okay, like this actually works. I'm not spending hours and hours trying to debug this. It's actually helpful as it's pushed back. It doesn't really fully just agree with every single thing I say. So the reasoning model was starting to get like so much better, and then Cowork came through. Code was already there, and then Cowork just changed the whole game. And I'm like, okay, as RevOps, my brain is going like, oh, I have like a million things here that I can implement. Yeah, and then I got super excited, and then I got into this and started building. Hence, like I wanted to share some of that knowledge out with the other RevOps folks.
I love it. I love it. Can you give me an example, just digging into Claude, like even with Cowork on a use case or something that you've built that's working in RevOps?
Yeah, 100%. And I think like I started with a very like basic like analysis of win loss. Like I was like, hey, I wanted to do like win loss analysis on my within my CRM. And then I went through like a couple of these models that started like hallucinating and giving me like deals that were never in my data. So I went to Claude, and Claude did an amazing job at my win loss analysis. And I recently launched like a couple of weeks ago a close loss agent that basically looks at last week's performance on deals that we're losing. Um, because of Claude's like massive list of connectors, it's actually context building is so much stronger. So think about like if I was like a Salesforce that lives in a vacuum, and a
Mhm.
Salesforce that has 10 integrations is much more powerful. Same way, when I'm running analysis in Claude, if it has context from my conversational intelligence, so I'm not like previously, again, like going back to my RevOps days, I did
Hmm.
a report or a dashboard for close loss, right? So I'm like,
Yeah.
and I'm the analyst that's looking into that and saying like, this is the reason why we're losing. Then
Right. And you have the checklist on your,
yeah,
your pick list and call it a day.
exactly. You have your standard pick list, you have standard reason, whatever the reps
Hmm.
are giving me. Uh, Now what I'm doing is like I'm pulling all of that, but I'm running it against my conversational intelligence and saying, can you pull all the calls for this deal and tell me if this actually is the reason why we lost the deal? Um, then like it sits on top of this like crazy amount of context. So for example, like we have Slack channels with our prospects and stuff. Okay,
Hmm.
amazing. If I hook up my Slack, I actually know what they're talking about. Uh,
Right.
so once I start stitching all of this stuff together, the analysis is so much more powerful. And that's like started building context. And again, imagine a world where it's not hallucinating anything and it's actually giving you the real analysis. And
Right.
the difference I see is between why I adopt Claude or any other tool right now is the difference between I hire a junior analyst that is like okay, or I
Hmm.
have a junior analyst that's world class.
Yeah.
Uh,
100%. I want to ask you specifically, what conversational intelligence are you using?
we use attention. Um,
Okay, that's interesting. So I'm doing an evaluation right now, and one of the core requirements is the MCP server connector, and I'm finding that there are a lot of tools out there, but they don't have that, or they say they have it on their roadmap. So attention, everything's been leading back to attention for me. So I'm interested. So that's validating my research. So
Early customers there, and yeah, we find their team like is usually ahead of the curve. So yeah, the MCP connector is huge. I'm like it's almost coming back to like it's table stakes now for people.
yeah.
So we're
Oh,
asking.
that is my top, because I've got to switch note takers right now. My top is MCP connector, and the next is Salesforce write back, because I still want to have information writing back to Salesforce, and then ideally autofilling fields. It's it's a nice to have, which attention can do as well, and a couple of others. So those are like my three big ones. But the number one disqualifier is MCP server connector.
That's exactly how I think a lot of folks are looking at things, because that's context building. If you can't pull stuff, like you're again living in a vacuum, and you may lose like some really key data points there.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, that's just a really good use case. So, are you using Salesforce?
Yes. Uh,
Okay, so you've got Salesforce connected. So how have your reps experienced this? Have they kind of gone in there themselves? Like, I think some hesitance from, say, a RevOps team that wants to control the narrative and
yes.
control the reporting is somebody pulling something out from Salesforce. They're looking at the wrong field, or because sometimes, like, how Salesforce is custom, right? And it's like, well, you got to put these filters on reports and stuff. So how are you dealing with that?
No, I'm smiling because this is definitely a, a thing that was the first thing in my head was like, hey, if I open up the world to people, somebody says pull all the clothes lost from last month. They don't know the filter of like, hey, you need to put a record type filter for new business. Like,
Right.
you're right. And you can draw conclusions. And it's not only sales, like it's like leadership. Leadership. So I break it down back to like the older days of like
Hmm.
RevOps. Like, would I let my leader just like pull a report in Salesforce without any context? Probably not, because I know the filters, I know the context. Would I have a salesperson build their own dashboard without any context? Probably not. Uh, um, and I did a post about this as well. Is like why I think revenue operations is in the best place to build and implement AI across like your like entire organization for go to market, because we hold all the context. And if we hold all the context, what is even needed for AI to be effective is context. In Claude, it actually makes it very easy, especially in your like enterprise um, tenant. You can build out like scale files within projects that holds the context. So
Okay.
I did this like recently on like outbound analysis and like top of the funnel analysis, and I
Hmm.
like built out a scale file that actually says which fields have like what definition, which
Hmm.
are the ones that we actually use for these kind of analysis, and limit my analysis within this like bucket. I put it into a skills file, made a project, shared the project with the team, and I asked them to use that project for those. So again, like it's almost like building it
Yeah.
and giving it to them and saying like
Yeah.
LLM.
For when you want to know this, go over here to this project and kind of build the foundation just like you would a reporting or a dashboard, build it out there. Yeah.
100%,
That's,
and that has been the game changer there as well, like to share it with the team. And of course, like it all comes back to RevOps. So uh, you have to be the architect of that.
yeah. Yeah. 100%. So how long did it take you to get there, to get it to where you have
Yeah.
a solid set of reports and different tasks and agents and things where people feel comfortable using it and are getting the accurate information?
Yeah, I think it still takes, and which is where I think like a lot of leaders have like skipped the main part of like building out foundations, uh,
Hmm.
and asking like again like doesn't matter if you ask Claude for your close loss reasons. If
Hmm.
deals are wrongly put in like a, let's say if I lost deals like today, but
Right.
you had put it in like last month. Okay, I just skipped the entire data set because I asked
Right.
Claude to tell me something. Again, that behavior of like what the rep is entering, all of that stuff, first needs to be controlled. And this is like going back to the older like RevOps 101 foundations of
Hmm.
how to control this. Um, because funny thing is like AI, like AI layered on top of trash is just a beautiful looking trash. Uh,
Yeah, it's the same rules apply is, and they're asking for Zoom info connection, and I'm like, no, guys, like I'm not going to let you blow through credits. We've got that hooked up to Clay. We've got that automated coming inbound, enriching our database. So I'm but we can't build it fast enough, right? Because the org has said, "Hey, here you go. Everybody's got Claude." So now it's
you
um
need
it's
it
kind
like
of a
yesterday.
race.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. So but I'm glad to hear, and that validates exactly the approach that I was taking is like we have to build out the foundation so you when you go to pull a report you're getting the right information, you're going to the right places. So it really goes back to foundational documentation. If you have all of your fields defined, you have your core metrics defined, then it's a lot easier to build out these projects, right? And skills and Claude. Otherwise, you have to go back and do your documentation first.
100%. And it's not,
Yeah.
I'd go even a layer deeper is like if you don't have that data tracking set up, like right in if you don't have that particular field that you wanted to actually run an analysis on, you are running blind with it. And even if you try it, Claude is not gonna make the field and just like magically start making analysis. That is still foundations that RevOps has to put in place. And I've been now with Unify a little over like 10-11 months, and I've been doing this since day one, is building the foundations. So the reason why I can now go in and deploy all these agents across the board is all the foundational work that has been done, right, controls that have been put in place, and now I can like launch it in a more, I would say, safe manner, rather than
Hmm.
like let the reps like blow it up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly. I appreciate your perspective there because I think a lot of people are in my position right now, just getting mandates. The adoption curve is slowly kind of moving to the right. So we are going to have more and more of this. This is great. So, I was excited when I saw your profile. We were already connected, but you say AI powered RevOps in your profile. So I was like, oh, Hassan has to be a guest on my show. 100% has to be a guest. What do you think, when you think of your day-to-day operating model, like what does that mean to you?
Yeah. So what AI powered RevOps means for me is like, again, like if I were one of the things I would say is like RevOps historically has been like one of the more like under resourced like team, right? Like I've run a team of one across for the entire now at least like we can and then what the result of that is the RevOps leader starts getting pulled into all these tactical things that you don't want to be because you want to also have a strategic view of this. You're like troubleshooting, you're doing all of these things, uh, report building, and like pulling all of that data, cleaning it, and all of that stuff. That to me is not a great use of like RevOps leaders' time. You want to start getting strategic. Like for example, like again, like where are you going to deploy the AI agents first? Um, and that to me itself is like a major again like light bulb moment is like hey where can I start using AI and delegate all of this work that is more tactical because
Hmm.
tactical also I mean strategic I also rely a lot on like idea building and stuff in chat but like
Right.
man if I'm looking at the tactical stuff and I can automate a bunch of that tactical stuff, that gives me so much more time to actually be strategic. And yeah, for especially like listening people who have like team of one, it's a no brainer because this allows you to achieve a lot more and build out those roadmaps and actually go through your backlog, right?
Hmm.
Which I'm sure people who are again like under resourced can resonate. Like, hey, backlog keeps on building. People keep on asking stuff. Um, so the way I look at it, again, with the moment like I adopted AI was I went through my list. Went through my calendar. I went through my project list, and I was like, "Here's my backlog. Here's my like hardest hitting projects that I have. Like we do rocks here as well. So we're
Hmm.
like, okay, we have like weekly rocks. I'm like, okay, how do I like analyze here again? Like as a RevOps leader, you have to prioritize, right? So I'm like, okay, let's go through priority, and within priority, I started ranking which ones are actually going to be the most effective projects that I can deploy AI and actually free up my time. And I started doing that even to the point I adopted it to my day to day, how I structure my day. Like I have an agent that runs in the morning. It goes through my entire email, my Slack, my project management. It tells me what I have to reply to this person. I have to do this. And it pulls out the context and gives me a next steps action item on daily basis.
Hmm.
That itself was wasting time for me to kind of just figure out like what's going on. Now I
Hmm.
have it
And
all
the ugly inbox, all the unopened
exactly.
emails and
And this
sorting
comes
through the
into my
junk.
Slack every
Yep.
morning. Like I open up my Slack, I look at that and I'm like, okay, amazing. Like I know how my day is planned. Again, efficiency is what RevOps has always
Hmm.
strived towards. So I would say start from like your use cases. Where can you free up your time? And then work with your stakeholders. Then I'm like sitting with sales team. I'm like, what's something that I can automate? Somebody was like, it would be great if we had like an agent that runs like research before I'm going on a call, like for
Hmm.
the team, because I'm like looking into the website. I'm looking amazing. Yes. Like we will, this is something, but I'm like, again, going back to like, what's the ROI? Like, hey,
Hmm.
and I've learned this the hard way is like RevOps it's super hard for RevOps to prove ROI sometimes.
Hmm.
So, as a revenue person, I gotta start putting dollar amounts to things. Okay,
Yep.
it's like how much time is gonna save you. The person's like, hey, I do an hour of research like every day on my meetings, like for the rest of the day. Okay, great. An hour a day. How much is this worth?
Right.
You are work in sales ops part as well, so you know exactly how much like the base variable of this one person is. Okay, let's calculate an hourly rate and let's apply that and say like, okay, well I can save you that hour every day by building out the agent. You do a review of that, you know the context, multiply by 20 reps, 30 reps, how much money are you saving now all of a sudden?
Right. Yeah. 100%. And I really I really like that approach, and, going to the sales team, getting some low-hanging fruit always is a good idea, right? Is getting confirmation on what they need help with and solving a problem that builds the confidence there with RevOps. I mean, that's RevOps 101 stuff, but it all applies here. How can it help them? And I think the results can be astronomical versus the old way would be like, oh, we're, connecting your Zoom info and you can just have it right there in Salesforce to do your update on your, contact info. And, that was great. But now this is, that's really just the old way. And
That
deal,
requires a couple of clicks, right? That
yeah.
requires things. Like if I schedule that agent to pull that and like hit this person's Slack every
Hmm.
morning, like, hey,
Hmm.
these are all your meetings. These are all the research. These are the key stakeholders. This is what we have talked about in the past with them. Like, here's a
Hmm.
historical context. Like, yeah,
So
nobody.
you're giving them, so hold on. So you're giving all the context for their meetings that they've got scheduled for the day. So it's going through, it's looking at, whatever their previous call histories, probably deal behavior in Salesforce,
No,
what's happening in the world, press, like things like that. I mean, like what is it hitting? And then it's going to their Slack and saying, okay, you have these 3 meetings today. Here's your prep for these 3 meetings.
yeah, we go a little further as well, like because we know like the selling model that like we want, like so we're like, hey, for example, like if someone's using like, hey, I need, we have notes on like bench from previous like person that we aren't okay, if we have some data point on like, are they in the market, when is their renewal up for a different tool, okay, amazing. If again, like goes back to like where the context sits, right? The RevOps built these fields to capture. um I'm not saying these fields are 100% always accurate. But you start building the context and say like, okay, well, the conversation intelligence doesn't lie because they have had the conversation within the
Right.
meeting.
Right.
So I can override like, the sales rep is saying this, but the person is themselves have told us why they didn't buy the last time.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
overwrite that because I mean, yeah, I don't. It's
Yeah,
like
salespeople are optimists sometimes, right?
100%.
So,
Yeah, yeah. It goes, yeah,
well,
every
and
new
that's where
salesperson.
that field capture comes in. So if you have, your note taker also auto populating your field, what it's pulling from Salesforce has some confidence as well.
Yeah, you have to have confidence in the data, right? It's like, again, going back to the foundations. If you have foundations weak, the analysis is weak, and so is the agent. Like, so we want to make sure, like, and then what I do is like, again, there's a lot of foundational work that still applies to the AI because AI is a tool, uh, that gets you to the end. Like, it's a means to the end, right? So
Hmm.
AI is not itself the end product. You still want to use that tool to enhance something, solve a problem. Problem solving is again like getting the requirements, taking a stakeholder, building it out with them, building the trust, taking a feedback and changing it if it doesn't work. Uh, that part is like that never gets old.
Right, right. Iteration. So, like you said, MVP, and you're going to continue to iterate from there.
100%.
So where do you see people in teams and RevOps leaders overcomplicating AI adoption, and where are they thinking too small?
I think overcomplication comes from like again going back to like jumping into it too fast and saying like, because your leader says like we need AI today, you go out and start building AI without actually skipping like some of the main like steps. So if you go directly to step 3, the ROI is not coming in step 4. Step 5, your leader is annoyed. Why are we not getting ROI? You don't get adoption. Um, right by step 6 and 7, you're going back to ground zero and building it
Right.
again. And what you did is like wasted a couple of months. Um, and a couple of months in the world of AI is like you're again behind. Um,
Yep. Yeah, so that's where I think the true leadership in RevOps comes is we have to push back sometimes and actually put together the plan and the use case and take a step back and methodically, okay, there's a walk, crawl, or what is it, crawl, walk, run type of thing. So I think that's a really good reminder, especially with this heightened hype right now to, if you're not already on board, like, you need to get there, all the way over here already. So I think that's really important, and that's our jobs as strategic leaders, to work cross functionally, and that's where that collaboration comes into place, is being able to even relate it. If you sell software, you would not sell a client and then, not go through UAT, not go through all these steps in onboarding. You wouldn't just say like, "Hey, here you go, you're turned on," right? Like in an enterprise,
Is you can use Claude as your thought partner for all of it. You
right.
want to you want to push back to the leaders strategically, put it in Claude, and Claude will actually help you guide how you positioning it.
Yep.
It's the thought partner, right? Again, and this is the fun thing is like that I'm learning. Like the deeper I am like in the world of AI is which was actually true for any like technological advancement that we've had is like you don't want to lose the original thought, right? You want to bring
Hmm.
Claude can give you like ideas and iterate on it, but never lose the original thought, because then what you're doing is you're actually like giving what your brain should be doing into Claude and start. That's your starting point because you hold the context more than the AI. AI is just gonna take, you know, in the guardrail of like whatever you ask without any of the context. The more context building happens, like if you keep on building those agents, keep up building the skill files, keep on adding stuff, it has enough context. But at some point, but right now, again, RevOps person has a lot more context to say like, hey, this is how my leader is asking me. This is how, historically we have done. Like, again, you add more context to it, use it as a thought partner. That just refines it. And that
Hmm.
makes it super easy, right? So it's all fun stuff in there.
And you make a great point. Have Claude help you with your presentations. I just completely redid a board level presentation using Claude, and it was a messy PowerPoint that I think it's been a working deck for the last couple of months on a project. And I don't know, it was something like 52 slides. And I'm like, okay, this is, I gave it a really strong prompt with, PE audience, and, narrow it down to 8 key slides and blah, blah, blah. And it was pretty amazing what came out. And it really took the context and organized it nicely. And then, I spent some time afterwards, tweaking it and everything like that. But it really transformed all that work that we've done over the last couple of months, and put it into a succinct format that would have probably taken like 3 solid days of no sleep, me trying to figure out what slide needs to go where, right? Like it was really a game changer.
And the beautiful thing is you can again like build it out in projects and do this like so
Mhm.
the next time you don't have to type it all again. And it will have the historical context, and you can say like, hey, last time you did this in the slides and this is how it's changing. And that's where it starts getting like a compounding effect.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So when you think about mistakes, because I'm sure a lot of people are making them, what are the biggest mistakes that companies make when they try to operationalize AI and go to market before they've built the right foundation, like we talked about earlier?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I will probably sound like a broken record, but like, yes, they skip foundations a lot.
Hmm.
Then uh, I would say, and this has been a historical RevOps problem, is like get RevOps in those strategic, like, conversations early. Uh, for example, like if you ask a dev to start building go-to-market agents, because that's where you're putting like most of the energy to say like, hey, you deploy AI across the organization, you kind of like skipped the people who are building the foundations and have the context. A lot of leadership is like, again, because this has been a historical problem on RevOps, sometimes uh, gets too tactical and they don't get the seat at the table, right? So
Hmm.
that kind of historically has been true, and that puts like the person who holds the context outside of this, like, Venn diagram. And now you're building, like, again, going back to, like, if I gave it to a developer who's doesn't have a context of Salesforce and say like, hey, can you start building like these flows and automations and stuff in Salesforce without any business acumen or knowledge, like, again, you're building in silos. So I think that's one of the bigger mistakes that people are doing, again, rushing it like too much. And then once you have that like analysis, uh, I've seen somebody, like, I saw the other day, somebody was like posted about this and was very impressed. Hey, this organization like deployed 1,000 agents. I was like, that to me sounds like a failure mode. Uh,
Right.
Rather than like I'm impressed by the volume of agents, because whereas the A, you can burn through a lot of credits and stuff trying to build agents that look cool, has no
Hmm.
ROI impact.
Right.
And I think it was like McKinsey's study that was like, hey, 85% of like, companies have adopted AI, and 80% of them do not see the ROI and value. Like, wild, right? It's like, hey, you are deploying AI, you're deploying AI everywhere, but are you solving the right problems that are actually generating, revenue or not? Or is it just like a nice to have that like looks cool? Again, deploying 1,000 agents is not impressive. Deploying 10 agents that produce, $1 million, that to me is impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's checking a box, right? It's checking a box on a mandate. We did this, we deploy, but what's the point? What is the ROI? What are we getting out of it? It's akin to like old school marketing blast campaigns. Oh, we're doing all this busy work, we're sending all these emails, and but what are you really getting out of it?
It's the quality over quantity.
100%. 100%. So thinking about the future, obviously you've really gone through this evolution over, I think you said, the last 8 or 9 months, in terms of transformation of RevOps and Claude. What is your outlook over the next 12 to 24 months on how this will all actually change the job of a RevOps leader?
Oh, that's a very good question. It's also funny because like the world of AI moves so fast. Like within 3 months, it could be a totally different game.
Right.
Uh, I think the outlook, what I can see is like revenue operators that are going to win in the market are probably the ones that uh, can build and execute. Um, the role of like the specialist in terms of like like analysts that is building stuff, even like developers, like Salesforce developers.
Hmm.
And I'll give you this as like example. It's like my developer didn't like it, but I was like, hey, I just like deployed these like 4 Apex classes that I built via Claude through this, and it actually works like a charm. And I tested it out in Sandbox, and I think he probably like he's like, oh well, like you don't need me to do all of this now, right? So start
Right.
to have like this moment is like specialists that are there because it's like um more, I would say, like prone to automation,
Hmm.
are going to start have to like step back and be more of that generalist, which like some of the RevOps people that are builders have done. Like, so with me, I'm lucky because I have the uh experience of like building and being strategic. Like I can go down and I can build those out. I can go up and I can have the conversations with the leaders and all of that stuff, like where the business should go. That those leaders are actually going in a very strong position.
Hmm.
Analyst role, I almost see it disappearing in the next 12 and 24 months. There's not much need because,
Hmm.
again, if I know how to get work out of an analyst to that best, ability, I can do it in Claude. Then it starts becoming like those, all of those people, I would recommend them to start picking up how to build and deploy these things, because that's a skill that will be needed in the next like 12 to 24 months. And if you're flying high up there and you're like making decisions without having that context,
Mm-hmm.
that is not going to cut it.
Yeah. You have to get your hands dirty 100%, dive in, learn the tools, use the tools. I listen to podcasts like this to figure it out. I think that's really critical for everybody, particularly in RevOps. And to your point about the Salesforce developer, I think that's the difference between like this GTM engineer versus Salesforce admin, right? There's definitely an evolution there, and those folks, I think, need to really learn how to leverage tools like Claude to deploy, to do the admin, to set up, reporting particularly, and get away from dashboards and things like that and modernize. And I think it's the responsibility of all of us, in terms of the leaders to pave the way and move towards that direction. But for people who are very, like you said, narrow, and have a specialization, get out there and learn, start getting your hands dirty and understand how your job will evolve. Because those are the requirements, right? Those are going to be the new requirements. And people aren't going to be looking for a Salesforce admin in the future. They're going to be looking for, an engineer and somebody who can leverage Claude.
Yeah, having been there, deep in there, and seeing the shift happen. And yeah, it's a no-brainer to get there. And even the senior leaders that are there, I would say start having your team build, break, like, iterate in whichever AI tool works for you. Doesn't
Right.
even matter. Like, just like get there.
Yep.
Uh, yes.
Yeah. I mean, so would that be what's your advice then? So just dive in and get your hands dirty to
Yeah.
folks.
I think, again, like going back to how I had started, just start with a simple problem. Don't try to solve the world. Like
Hmm.
that's where I think a lot of like operators are making the mistake. You go on LinkedIn, you find all these like, frameworks and all these like hacks that you can copy, paste. Great. Perfect. Start, like, again, like if I take someone's framework and copy it in, like I didn't really use my brain to see like, does it even work on my
Hmm.
organization? Like I'm copying someone's prompt and copying and pasting there. Great. Have I tweaked it to customize it to your need? But start with a very simple problem if you want to like dive in today. Like if you have been out, it's not too late. Start with a very simple problem that you want to solve in your day,
Hmm.
and automate something that you do on a daily basis that takes your time. Start from there. If you automate that, it will light the bulb there. And you're like, oh, okay, well, this can be applied to other places that I work. This can be applied to other people that I work with. Get the stakeholders, get that trust. Um, yeah, get started.
I love it. I love it. Well, now it's time for our rapid fire questions, and you've kind of answered some of these along the way, so some might go quick here. But I'm asking all of my guests the same questions. So I did a little research, and was looking for what are RevOps leaders concerned about? What are they asking with AI? So I like to ask all of my guests these questions. And so we'll kind of fly through them here and we'll close up. So, are you ready to roll?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. All right. What's the first place you tell a RevOps team to start with AI?
Your calendar or your project.
Awesome. I love it. Is a RevOps data actually AI ready today, or are most teams just automating garbage?
Automating garbage, because the foundations, and if it was all good, RevOps wouldn't exist.
That's a good point. What's one AI use case in RevOps you've seen actually work in the real world?
Conversational intelligence, pipeline inspection, forecasting. There's never ending use
I
case.
like it. I like it. How do you measure real ROI from AI in RevOps?
Again, assign a dollar amount, get to that dollar amount. That's what leaders listen to. So speak that language.
Perfect. Here's the $1 million question. Will AI replace RevOps, or will RevOps leaders who use AI replace those who don't?
I am a firm believer is the latter. AI, like RevOps leader, will be empowering this motion and automating a bunch of stuff. That's what we've been doing without AI. So now it's just supercharged.
Supercharged. I like it. So I'd like to ask you, what would you like to leave the audience with? What are some key takeaways here you'd like to leave the audience with?
Yeah, I would say uh, start small, move fast, fail fast, reiterate, listen to your stakeholders, take the feedback. You don't try to solve the world, just like start small and scale, like any startup would when they're building out a product.
Amazing. Amazing. So we can find you on LinkedIn. You're out there. So we'll include your LinkedIn information. Definitely send me over any other links or tips. I'll put it in the show notes. I was thinking I had some ideas too around maybe doing some technical sessions with some folks and doing some screen shares as part of the podcast. I'm going to set up a YouTube page for it. So I don't know if you're game for that when I'm ready.
Yeah, happy to like share knowledge with other operators. If people are looking for there's also like there's enough resources out there.
Hmm.
Get your hands dirty. I feel like a lot of people in RevOps are like open to um, talking, open to sharing that knowledge. So yeah, please reach out.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome. Well, great. I've really enjoyed this conversation. I've learned a ton. So I really appreciate you sharing everything that you've been doing and learning. I think it's so helpful for the RevOps community. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
yeah. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, this has been another episode of AI Powered RevOps. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next time.